Fernando, alcoholic. Whew. So grateful to be here. I have a sobriety date of 5/12, 2023. So that means I have 88 days today. I just, yeah, completed, I've been in sober living for a week. This is the longest I have ever stayed in sober living. Um, um, yeah, for me, what it was like growing up, I always grew up as I grew up with my dad and my mom. My dad was an alcoholic, drug addict, um, was always loving and caring. And so was my mom, but she was just never like the affectionate type. So growing up, I was never used to like getting hugs or like to the like I love you. So I grew up kind of as a outsider, like loner. Growing up, I was a chubby kid. Um, and then at like the age of what was it, 5? Um, Growing up, like I had my first, I guess you can say, traumatic experience, which was like I used to hang out with my dad a lot, and he was like on alcohol and drugs, and I would always hang out with him, and we went over once, and I was like around 5, 6, and then one of his friends like decided to molest me. So that was like my first like big traumatic event that ever happened to me. So for a long time, I like carried that like guilt, that shame, and I never like blamed myself, but like it was something like hard to carry on myself. And I mean, thank God through like therapy and like especially therapy, it like helped me like overcome that. And then now like yeah, so yeah, that happened. And then like growing up, like yeah, I was always like a loner, like never really liked being around people. So I would like hang out by myself. Yeah, that was elementary, middle school. I always wanted to like I pushed myself in school, but didn't like being around crowds. Like I was always like get anxiety in speaking and like being around too many people and yeah. So yeah, that was growing up, and then I grew up with 4 sisters, one little brother. Uh, I ended up pushing myself. I started drinking at 15. Um, so when I started drinking, that made me feel part of. That made me feel accepted. That made me accept like my sexuality. It made me fit in. It made me get that false liquid courage. But it was all a lie from the beginning. So as soon as I was just drinking to numb. So yeah, at 15 I started drinking, and then it made me fit in, and then I always wanted to graduate, so I pushed myself. Uh, I enrolled into homeschool because I just hated school, but I wanted to graduate. So I pushed myself. I was always at like little kickbacks, smoking weed here and there. Um, and then So yeah, I enrolled into homeschool. I pushed myself. I graduated. At 16 and a half, I took like a nursing assistant course. Did that, started working at 17 and a half. At this point, well, backtrack a little bit. At like 8, when I was like in 8th grade, I had hip surgery. Because I was really overweight. I used to be 365 pounds. So they had to put in screws in both hips, but then I never lost weight, so it like messed my hips up more. And then I started working. I got insurance. I got the gastric sleeve back in 2013. Lost too much weight in a year. I went from like 365 to 165. So I became pretty much like anorexic that first year. I wouldn't eat. Um, and then I started to develop like this eating disorder where I like became bulimic, and then I would like throw up and like, so it was just addiction on top of addiction. So it was crazy. And I didn't realize how much weight I had lost till like a year after, due to like loose skin, and I had some like skin removal surgery. But mentally wise, I never realized how much weight I lost. So that's what like pretty much fucked me up for a long time. Um, then first time I ever did go into treatment was August 10 of 2017. I ended up going into Safe Refuge in Long Beach. That's the first time I ever got introduced to AA, NA. Um, I learned about like meetings and like I was like, oh, these are people that kind of drink like me. Um, so I took it serious. I've always taken it serious because I've done inpatient. This will be my sixth time completing 90 days. Well, I graduated this time like 2 weeks early, but I've completed 90 days before. I've gotten 90 days before. Um, And yeah, so first time I went to Safe Refuge, completed it, learned a little things about myself. I always struggled with like self-love, accepting myself, accepting my sexuality, the fact that I'm gay, like so I always had it was just always trauma after trauma and so accepting all those things was big for me. So yeah, coming into treatment did that. I would go into sober living. Um the longest I would stay was like a week until I like relapsed. And then I ended up going back to treatment. And then I would complete 90 days, go to sober living, relapse. And then it was just a cycle of in and out. And then I ended up having so many hit and runs, stealing from my family to the point where they would like lock their doors, like they wouldn't trust me. Like I became that like violent drunk. Um, so yeah, I did Safe Refuge 3 times. Uh, then I ended up trying Redgate, did 3 months, relapsed again in sober living. Then I ended up trying Positive Steps. Well, I left at like the 60-day mark because I thought I was cured, but you're never cured from this shit. Like this is something that I know and I have to accept that I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. Um, then I ended up coming into Fred Brown. I was in a detox at College Hospital, um, because I would go through like really bad withdrawals, like to the point of like that it was even worse than like the meth. Because my drug of choice is alcohol, weed, and then meth, in that order. I've never picked up meth being sober. It always starts out with like the ABCs, how they say like alcohol becomes crystal for me. Um, and I ended up, yeah, coming into Fred Brown. I was in that detox. I had like a case manager that got me in. I ended up completing. I was over at 14th Street. Completed the again 90 days. Did I was really open on my in my autobiography, my letters. Like I've always taken treatment serious. Um, so I've always learned something about myself. That's why I don't regret any time I've gone through treatment, gone to treatment, because I've taken it serious. Even though like relapse has definitely been part of my story. I've always learned something from it. From every like bad thing, I've learned something. Um, so I ended up completing the letters. I've always liked to journal. So like what I do today is I like uh, yeah, let me go back. Yeah, completed 90 days and 14th Street, went to sober living and relapsed. The first day I got out, I relapsed. The first thing I did was go straight to the liquor store because my type of drinks are for locals and the cheapest vodka that you can get because I end up to that point where I'm that fucking broke. Like I stopped going to work, I call in sick, I lose jobs, I ended up getting a DUI 2 years ago, finally, after so many hit and runs. So I'm finally taking care of that now. Then I ended up this last time went on a little run after leaving Fred Brown and ended up uh, going back to my dad's house because that's where I would always run to. Um, and I wasn't welcome, but I was welcome. Nobody wanted me around. My sisters didn't want anything to do with me. My little sister was the strictest one. She had that real tough love. She told me once, she was like, I have decided to not let you continue to hurt me anymore, so I just cut you out of my life completely. And she did that. She ended up, this last time I ended up going back. We'll just get drunk and cause a scene at home, and it was just that stupid drunk. Over resentments, I would like get in fights with my little sister. And this last time, before coming back to Fred Brown this time around, I was at this sober living in North Long Beach, which was a self-pay, which was my only option because I ended up homeless. I didn't have a job. The only thing I was ever able to keep was my um, nursing assistant license, which I mean, by the grace of God, I always never lost that. I always was able to get jobs. Like it's easy for me to get a job. It's hard for me to keep it. Um, so yeah, coming back around this time, I ended up picking up a DV case. Ended up going to jail for 10 days. So I went into that sober living, which as long as your rent was paid, you could get high, you could drink. Like it was just the mess. And I started out okay, but then being around math and just people doing lines here and like I ended up falling for it. And because I wasn't following the program, I was isolating. I was just going to work, coming back home, drinking, and trying to get my life together, but I was not doing the program. Um, I've never given the program a chance, which is what I fully jumped into this time. So I was pretty much homeless. I couldn't come up with rent money. Uh, I ended up calling, I was trying to get back into Safe Refuge. They didn't have a bed. And like, I'm just so used to running back to rehab, and I'm just like freaking sick and tired of that cycle. So I ended up calling Liz. No, I actually called somebody else from Fred Brown, and they did the intake, and I just left it at that. I was just like, I had no idea what I was gonna do, where I was gonna go, where I was gonna end up. And then as in the middle as that I'm like my last of getting high and drinking, I get the call. I see my phone and it says Fred Brown. And as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh shit. Like I already knew what it meant. As soon as I seen the call and like I was in the middle of everything and I answered and it was Liz and she's like, can you come here tomorrow? What was it? It was a Thursday. I came out on a Friday. And I mean, to me, that was a gut shot. I did not want to come back prior to this. Like I had came back for the second time to Fred Brown, but didn't complete. I thought I had it. I was trying to go back to work. I was trying to run on self-will. Um, I completed the auto again, added more things, did new letters, um, and I ended up leaving before hitting 60 days. And because I thought I had it, I ended up just packing all my shit, leaving it in the closet and just leaving. I just walked out. I had it all planned out in my head. I was gonna go back to my dad's. I was gonna start working, and none of what I had planned happened. I ended up going straight to the liquor store, getting some drinks, and was just sitting at a bus stop. So, I was sitting at a bus stop, and then there goes friggin' Chris, and it was Matt too, right? Yeah. Um, with my drink and drunk as hell, and I come back and I didn't want to come back, but then I came back and I mean I couldn't say because I was drunk, like so I had to learn that I had to go through that. I had to go through that other more experience on top of every other experience and really learn from that. Um, I ended up coming back once I got that call from Liz, came back on a ended up coming back this time with friggin' like shopping cart where you go and do laundry with. I had to find a way here from Long Beach, packed all my stuff, took the bus over here, and I didn't ask my family for any help this time. They're like tired of the same cycle. Like I had this conversation with dad the other day, and he was like, it's like I think we're hurting more than you're actually hurting. Like everything I put him through, like I put him through so much worrying, I put him through so much like, is he okay? Is he not okay? Like so every time I'm in treatment, they can finally rest, like because I'm not like giving them that like they know where I'm at, they know I'm safe, and I'm tired of putting them through that. Like so this time I came in, decided to jump fully into the program. Told my sponsor I was coming here. I jumped into the I was doing everything because I didn't have to worry about work. I didn't have to worry about bills. I didn't have to worry about anything but my sobriety. So as I was in treatment, I did the auto again, added more things to it, got more letters in, and then would work with my sponsor on top of all that work because like I knew what I really wanted this time, and that was to stay sober. And I know if I kept running on self will, and I just had to give it over to God. And as soon as I did that, stopped running on self will, and started to just take those suggestions and just open my mind, um, like everything has slowly started to fall into place. Like this is the longest I've been in sober living. I'm gonna start working tomorrow. Um, and I just have a plan to get my driver's license back, to continue to work the steps. Like I'm on my immense process. Like I'm just not wasting any time because like fucking 31. Like I've done rehab 6 times. Like I don't want to do this again. So yeah, I just say keep an open mind, take the suggestions, and stop doing what you want to do, and just take some suggestions. And I'm talking to myself too. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got. Thank you.